This is the plaintiff, Raynette Wooding. She says she secured a rental van on her credit card for the defendant, her cousin, and the woman won't pay her back. The defendant was hostile towards her and her family on a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Disney World. And family or no family, she wants the $1,512.24 she's owed. That's why she's suing. This is the defendant, Trina McCarthy. She says the plaintiff brought a last-minute friend and a weird old man on their family trip, and he smoked weed near her kids. The trip was a disaster. The money the plaintiff is suing her for is for tire damage. But the plaintiff was the one who damaged the tire on her own van, and the sneaky woman is trying to get her to pay for it. She's accused of going to the unhappiest place on earth.
All parties, please raise your right hands. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Wooding, you are suing your cousin, Ms. McCarthy, for $1,512.24. You say she owes you for a family trip and won't pay. Tell me what happened.
Well, good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
We planned a trip to go to Florida, and what happened was Trina did not have a major credit card. So because she didn't have a major credit card, she could not get her rental. So
What
when
rental?
I arrived, the rental for her to drive to Florida, because we drove to
A
Florida.
rental van.
Yes.
Okay, so because you drove to Florida. How many vans did you rent?
2,
Okay, and how many people fit in each van?
12.
All right, and who was in her van?
It was Trina and her kids and one of our cousins and her son and her mother, I believe. And then she also had her grandkids. So I don't know how many it was, but it was more than 12.
Okay. You put down your credit card at the car rental place, and according to you, the understanding was what? That Ms. McCarthy is supposed to pay for that entire van?
Yes. Once I got to the rental place, Trina and her grandson was already there, and they couldn't get the car because Trina did not have a major credit card. So I went and I paid for mine, and we were dealing with the lady at the desk, and she said that when Trina returned the van, she would pay with cash or debit or however she needed to pay, but nothing would go on my card. So I agreed to do that.
All right, is that accurate? Did that conversation take place, Ms. McCarthy?
Yes, what was discussed was, yes, that it would go on Raynette's card. I had a debit card, and that's what I was told that I can hold the card with.
Yeah, you can't because they want an unlimited amount. So, or a bigger amount than just the money you have in the bank in case you crash
Right,
it.
and I would have told them I didn't have it.
Well, let's say that you did have a major credit card. Then what would have happened? Who was supposed to pay for the van?
Well, it was monies that was supposed to have been collected by Raynette that was supposed to been given to me for the vans.
Okay. So according to you,
for.
what was the deal with transportation?
I was supposed to have been given the money for transportation.
Well, what was the deal, though? Every adult was going to pay a certain amount, or what? Or every family paid a certain amount?
$100.
Every adult was going to pay $100.
Yes.
And that was going to cover the transportation.
Yes.
So you didn't. So according to you, you did not expect to be out $1,000-something because every adult was paying $100 for transportation. To who? Who did everybody pay the $100 to?
Well, to my sister and Raynette. That I had nothing to do with the money.
Okay, so Ms. Wooding, did you collect $100 from every adult in order to cover the transportation costs?
No, Stacy, which is her sister, collected the money, which seeing that I work so much, I have 2 jobs, Stacy was home. So Stacy collected the money for the transportation, and Stacy gave all the money to Trina. So, and
How much money did Stacy give Trina?
I believe it was $600, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't understand. Every adult was supposed to pay $100, right?
Correct.
Is there someone who didn't? Was there an adult who didn't pay $100?
Well, I don't know, because Trina She had her adult kids, so I don't know if she collected money from her adult kids or not. But the money that Trina did
Well, but
take
who's it?
from
I'm
her
sorry. I see a letter that you sent out. Let's look at this. You sent out a letter to everybody saying these are the rules and everybody has to follow the rules. We will be leaving July 17th, picking up the vans at noon. All adults are to give up $100 for transportation, and that is needed before July 16th. Then all adults must give up $50 for gas. I mean, this is like a plan to cover the transportation, so it shouldn't come out of your pocket and it shouldn't come out of her pocket. It should come out of the collective funds. So what happened with the collective funds? If you put Stacy in charge of collecting, then Stacy gets it from people and gives it to you, and you do the final count.
Correct.
Who's in charge
That's
here?
the thing. Stacy was, first of all, Stacy should not have collected any money because, like you said, I wrote the plan out and everybody was supposed to
Yeah,
cash
but you
at me
let
or give
Stacy
me.
collect some money. Because
I
she's a
didn't let-
stay-at-home and you have 2 jobs, and so you
Right.
were letting her collect money. But then you got to, there's got to be accountability. Stacy has to give you the money.
Well, actually, I was supposed to have came and picked up the money the day we were going to pick up the vans. But when I called Stacy, she told me that she had given the money to Trina because she could not contact me. And I explained to Stacy that, I got off work so late and I was tired, so I wasn't able to come and get it. So that's when she said she had given the money to Trina. And I asked her, why would she be giving Trina any money? I said that the money should have been split because, for one, Trina had about 6 or 7 adults with her, which I don't know if she collected any money from any
Trina,
of them.
did anybody pay up $100 who was in your van?
I collected money from my sister, $650.
Where did that $650 come from?
That $650 came from the $500 that Catrice, that was the cousin that rode with me down there. That she gave my sister $500. She cashed at Raynette $150. My sister.
Okay, now, because I think there's a missing ingredient here.
Family squabbles are always difficult, especially with this family. And the dispute is over a family trip to Disney. Let's listen.
You guys discussed that if anybody other than the original
four
4 families or whatever decided to
paid
go,
9.
they would have to pay $650.
$650.
And then you would divvy it up later if there was extra money. All right, so, and then,
Okay.
go ahead,
okay.
Ms. McCarthy. So your sister gave you the $650 of one of the extras, who we're talking about, your cousin.
That wasn't extra. That was extra. She just put that.
Who
in
were
it, was
tell me again who
$350.
the adults were in your car.
I had 3 adult daughters. I had 1 niece, 1 cousin, and my mom.
Any other adults?
No.
Okay, so that would be $700. How was that going to cover the $1,400 of the van? How would just $100 cover it?
Well, that's the point. Trina would have had to pay the difference with her van, and I would have had to pay the difference with my van.
Why just the 2 of you? Why not everybody has to pay a little more? That's how you had sketched this whole thing out, and that's what's fair.
Correct. And that's because some people drove, like Stacy drove her own vehicle.
Oh, well, then it
Stacey
doesn't matter
always-
that Stacy drove her car. So then 100
Right.
was never enough to collect from the adults. So then Stacy was never going to pay 100?
No, because Stacy was driving her own vehicle.
Okay, so how many adults were in your car?
About 5, I believe.
Right, so that wasn't going to cover the whatever it is, $1,300 for your rental van either, right?
Correct.
Right.
But I didn't have a problem paying the additional for my van.
Yeah, well,
which I did have
Okay,
to.
just a second. Did you have a problem, Ms. McCarthy, paying the additional for your van?
Yes, I had a problem paying the additional.
Right.
paying
So,
the
in other
additional.
words, you have to have a deal with people that they understand what they're responsible for. Because this is supposed to be a nice, wonderful, beautiful family vacation that the kids will remember. How'd it go, Ms. Wooding? How did the vacation go?
Well, for me, I was fine with the vacation, but Stacy was not happy because Stacy felt that she should have had the bigger room. So what had happened was they had 2 rooms downstairs and the 7 rooms was upstairs. So at that point, Stacy was not happy. So what she did was she called Trina and them before Trina and them had gotten to the Airbnb. So soon as Trina and all the rest of them came in, first of all, they came in very nasty. Her niece came in swearing and cussing because Stacy was not happy with how the setup was.
Why wouldn't you guys have discussed all this beforehand so there would be less
It was
friction?
discussed beforehand.
Is Stacy there, Ms. McCarty?
Yes, she is, because that's her in the back.
Let me hear from Stacy. Switch places with Stacy, please.
Good morning.
Good morning. Raise your right hand, please.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Had there been a discussion beforehand about who would have what room?
Yes, the discussion was that it was 3 rooms that had its own bathroom. And because Trina was going to get 3 bedrooms, she wasn't going to get her own bathroom. So Raynette was supposed to get 1 room with its own bathroom. I was supposed to get 1 room with my own bathroom. And my cousin Christina was supposed to get her a room with her own bathroom.
And what happened instead when you guys got
Raynette took 2 rooms that had bathrooms that was attached to them. Not to mention, I was upset because my mother used a walker and they thought my mother was going to walk up the stairs.
Wasn't that discussed beforehand, what room your mother would be in?
Okay. So when I kept talking to Raynette saying that it's not going to be, I kept trying to call her and I want to make it clear.
You guys talked all the time before this trip.
No, absolutely
I want to
not.
know whether it was discussed beforehand
It was discussed.
that your mother who's on a walker should not have to go up the steps. Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. But
So
Raynette took the 2
everyone
rooms.
knows when they rent the Airbnb exactly what rooms are on what floor. It's all over the Airbnb site. So everybody
Absolutely.
knows. So what room was your mother going to have?
She was supposed to have the room that Raynette's sister, mother, and friend was in. So no sooner I walked in, Raynette's sister, her mother, and her friend was in that room.
Okay.
So yes, I was upset.
All right. And did they say, oh, I'm so sorry, let us move?
Nope, this is what they said. Raynette told us this is our room.
And so did you talk to Raynette?
Raynette was nowhere to be found when I got back into my car, and at the end, I just left back out and went back into my car and called my sister, and then Raynette came out to the car and was like, don't be getting mad, don't be getting mad. They do like basically like not trying to make us get upset because the rooms that were upstairs, my mother couldn't walk up all the stairs.
Right, I understand. So how did you resolve it?
It wasn't resolved. I never got my room by myself. My mother was in a room with Raynette, friend, and her sister. That's how that was. And
Okay, so your mother got the bottom room, but what? What
she
was
had to
different?
share with 3 other people.
What did you think your mother was going to get her own room? Was that the original plan?
I had 2 rooms, Judge Millian.
So you thought you would be able to be in that room with your mother?
No, I thought that.
What would have made you happy? Let's say you got there first. What was your idea? I don't understand how you have.
Care about me.
So first of all, there is nothing that's a greater recipe for disaster than a bunch of cousins with 1,000 kids, and it could be the most beautiful trip in the world, but there's gonna be problems because it's family. No, don't interrupt me. Because it's family. So the way to get around problems is to have everybody's expectations managed very, very fully. That means that if you expect everybody to contribute to the vans, then everybody contributes to the vans. If they decide to drive their own car, that's on them, but they still contribute to the vans. If you decide, I'm sorry, are you interrupting me again, Stacy? Okay. If you decide that you're going to charge X, then you charge X and everybody pays X. People don't pay less because then you have bitter people. If you decide beforehand, these are the 9 bedrooms, let's decide fairly who gets what bedroom, then that's the bedroom. It's not a race to Florida to see who gets there first so that people can picture their flag. That's not how it works. This is a recipe for disaster, the way this was handled. If you're collecting the money, you're collecting the money. If someone else is collecting it for you, they give it to you. If it was just, do you dispute that it was discussed beforehand that Stacy would have a room with a bathroom and that her mother would have there's specific rooms. Who was supposed to have the 2 bedrooms downstairs according to the discussions?
There was no discussion on who was going to get what room.
Just
the discussion
that people
was
would get rooms with a bathroom.
how many rooms. Correct.
And people get rooms with a bathroom. So were you ever supposed to commandeer 2 rooms with a bathroom?
Yes.
And who else was supposed to get a room with a bathroom besides you?
Well, all of us, because except for Trina, because Trina had gotten the additional room, because Trina had gotten 3 rooms.
So just a second. So then how is it that Stacy got a room with a bathroom?
Stacy did get a room with a bathroom too. Matter of fact, Stacy's room had a connecting bathroom with the next room that Stacy had. And no, I was not trying to put my aunt upstairs. What I said when I came in and I seen it was 2 bedrooms on a lower level.
Didn't
What
you know
I
beforehand
said,
that there were only 2 bedrooms on the lower level?
well, actually, to be honest, we didn't pay any attention to that. We just
Well,
paid
maybe you
attention to
should.
it being 9
Maybe
rooms.
you should
Yep,
pay
I agree.
attention to that, especially when you have somebody on a walker.
Welcome back to the People's Court. I'm Harvey Levin. These litigants are cousins. Now, the plaintiff says that the defendant owes her for money for a van that they were going to use to take a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Disney World. But the defendant says the plaintiff brought a strange man on the trip, and a once-in-a-lifetime dream turned into, you guessed it, a nightmare. Let's go back into the courtroom.
When she comes in, you're expecting her mother to go up the stairs because you've commandeered the 2 bottom bedrooms.
Your Honor, that's not what happened. What happened was I was trying to put my aunt, which is Stacy and Trina's mom, and my mother on the first floor. What happened was when my aunt, Stacy and the mom came through the door with Stacy's daughter, when she came in cussing and swearing about she knew she wasn't going to be able to get a room with her grandmother or whatever. No, you're not going to be able to get a room with your grandmother because my mother is older than Stacy's and the mother. So I couldn't understand how the bottom floor room would have been to my aunt and her granddaughter and her grandkids. That would not have ever happened because I wasn't putting my mother upstairs. My mother is the oldest. So what I said was they both can have that room downstairs, my aunt and my mom.
All right.
And my sister.
How'd
and my
the rest of
girlfriend
the
didn't-
vacation go? We know how it started. How did the rest of the vacation go,
Right.
Ms. Wooding?
Well, for me, it went okay because I didn't get, like, even though Stacy and them was unhappy, what Stacy was doing was talking about me to other people, not coming directly to me, talking to me about anything. So during the vacation, we had things planned. Like we had ordered T-shirts and stuff, and I had given everybody their shirts, and everybody paid for their shirts except for Stacy and Trina. And I gave them to them. I gave Stacy hers, and I asked Stacy for my money, and Stacy did not take the T-shirts, and I left them right there on the stairs in
So
the bag,
nobody,
hanging
were you
right
guys in
there.
a fight the whole vacation?
No, I wasn't. Listen, when I say I was not in a fight with anybody, I was not unhappy. When I realized it was a problem.
How did it go for you, Stacy? What's your last name?
McCarthy.
Ms. McCarthy, how did the vacation go for you?
Everything that you said, Your Honor, is what I tried to do before we left Connecticut. I tried to get
Well, if you
Renette
did, let me ask you a question then. Why was your daughter disappointed she couldn't sleep with her grandmother? Wouldn't you assume that the elderly people would have the room? I don't know how elderly they are, but that the oldest people would have the room downstairs?
The 2 older people, my aunt Kent is able to walk up and down the stairs, and she did during that time. My mother is not at all able.
Okay, but
to
your
walk
mother
up
ended up in that room, so.
And she ended up in the room with her sister, but her friend shouldn't have been in the room. Here's the thing. People who were add-ons, they didn't get a room. They were supposed to sleep wherever there was room. Her friend slept in that room like she paid the initial $950. All add-on monies was supposed to be $650, and that $650 was supposed to go towards the rental of the van. My family, which is my daughter, who she's speaking of, gave me $350. I technically didn't have to give that, but I gave it for the help with the van because she felt.
Who did you give it to?
I gave, Raynette is not being honest. I gave, Raynette's son came the day of us leaving and got $500 for me. I added more. I was the one who paid the most. I gave $100 towards the van, and I gave my sister $650. Catrice only gave me $500. I actually put $450 extra for those vans out my own money. And that was the discussion that was going on around the house.
Okay, I need you to stop. Let's talk about the van because that's what the lawsuit's about. I'm trying to understand what you're saying. How much money did you give your sister for the van?
$650.
Okay. Why is your sister pretending that that $650 doesn't have to go towards paying the van then? Because your sister didn't pay anything for the van.
Okay, because Raynette had an add-on, which was her friend. Any money that was given to any of us after we paid the initial money was supposed to go pay for the van. So the man who we never knew, who wasn't part of was dating anybody and was a significant other of any of our family, he was supposed to pay $650 to
Did
go
he?
on that trip.
Right.
I don't know. That was Raynette's friend.
Okay.
And her girlfriend
Was there a
was
problem
supposed to-
with him?
Yeah, because he occupied the room that was the arcade room for the kids. So none of the kids could play the arcades in that room because he was in that room.
How is that fair to the people who paid $950 for the Airbnb, in part because they knew their kids were going to have a game room, Ms. Wooding?
That is not the truth. And no, I did not bring an extra male that they did not know.
Who was that man?
Who they're talking about is Christina. Christina came with her six people. And the male that she's talking about is her son's godchild. He had a room. So I don't know what
Who was staying in the arcade room?
The kids. And one of Christina rooms, it was her and her son.
According to you, Ms. McCarthy, there's some guy smoking pot in the arcade room, correct?
Yes.
And who was that guy? What's the person's first name?
I don't know him.
How can you not have met him in the week that you guys were in? What a fun trip. Happiest place on earth. Well, how is it you don't know the guy's name after a week?
I don't know his name. I never met. You have to understand that I haven't had any connection with my family for over 10, 12 years. This was the first time of me even being in their space. I haven't had any contact with my sister for 13 years. When I asked Raynette, is it the reason why my sister don't want to go is because of me? This is what Raynette said. I don't think that is the reason. I said, but my sister didn't even know that I was going on this trip. When my mother told me to contact my...
I don't have the time for therapy for your family. I have to focus on exactly what's happening here. And in terms of the lawsuit and the vans, I have a question for you. So if you haven't talked to your sister in 13 years, I guess there is one silver lining at this fiasco, which is that you're sitting next to your sister now.
Welcome back to the People's Court. This trip was a mess. It looks like they never really made plans on who would sleep where because their aunt had a walker and couldn't get into her designated bedroom. Let's go back into the courtroom.
So you gave your sister $650. Did you also give her $100 from you?
It was a combined amount. So
No,
this is what
no.
Yes.
I need to know the $650 came from who?
This $500 from Catrice and $150 from me.
Okay. And did you tell her you were going to give the money to your sister?
I kept calling Raynette for 3 days.
Before the
3
trip?
days I called her.
Before the
the trip. Yes.
And?
She wouldn't answer.
Let me
and when her son came to get the money that day, her son came to the house to get money. Raynette is failing to tell you that I gave her $500 too.
You gave her $500 for what?
For the vans. Out the money that I got and my own money. For it to be fair, Raynette got $150 cash app from Catrice. For it to be fair, I gave Trina $650 and I gave Raynette $500, which was $300 was from my daughter that I didn't have to put in because she fell underneath the umbrella of my family, but I put it in, and then an extra $200 from me. Raynette got $600 too, Judge.
I'm sorry.
$650.
I'm sorry. Ms. Wooding, did you ever get $650 from Stacy?
No. What I took from Stacy was $400. That was the day when I spoke to Stacy and I asked Stacy, why would she give Trina all the money? So Stacy felt bad because she knew that the money she had given Trina, she should have divided it, which she didn't. And she, like she said, she didn't like not being able to contact me. But like I said, I can't be at work.
How much money did you get from Stacy?
$400.
And what was that $400 for?
Towards the van.
So why are you suing for the entire cost of the van?
Because I had my own van. Trina had her own van.
Yeah, but she gave you $400. That's not going to be for your van. She didn't go in your van. If she gave you $400 and that was supposed to be for the van, which van do you think it was supposed to be for? Why would it be for your van?
Your Honor, what happened was Stacy felt bad because...
Switch places with your sister, Ms. McCarthy. By the way, Ms. Wooding, did she give you $400 or $500?
Stacy gave me $400.
Okay. And ask Stacy if that's what she says, too, that it was $400.
Oh, Stacy, put your finger.
Can you slide over and so I can see both of you at the same time? Is that possible? Stacy, can you prove how much you gave Ms. Wooding?
I can't prove it.
Okay, and according to you, you gave her how much? And how?
500.
How did you give her
I
500?
It was my money.
No,
I
no,
just
a
wanted
cash
everybody to
app,
be
a
fair.
money order. How did you give it to her?
Okay, I gave her $500 in cash, and the girl Catrice cashed app Raynette in my house $150. So that gave Raynette $650, and I gave Trina $650. That's how that went. I put the
And
extra.
did you pay $950 also?
Yes.
On top of that?
Yes.
All right, now,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy, Ms. Trina McCarthy, I'm talking to you now.
Yes.
If you got $650 for the van, please explain to me why you should pay $0 for the van.
I might owe Raynette something, but
How do you
feel
not
as
owe?
though-
If Raynette ended up paying for the whole
Because-
van, how is it you wouldn't at least owe the $650 that
Judge,
you got in your
because-
pocket
but
for the van?
She never gave me the other monies. I mean, she never even came out.
The other money would.
Raynette said that
Listen
we was
up.
gonna take
The
care of
other
vans
money
when we
would go
came
to
back.
pay the rest of the vans because a
Yeah, but
700
because-
from 7 adults in your car wouldn't pay
No,
$1,400.
I didn't get 700 from the 700. I'm talking about. I only got the 600.
Right.
$650.
What'd you do with it?
That's the only money I got. I
Yeah,
never
what'd you do with the
collected money.
$650, which was intended to pay for the van? What'd you do with it?
No, that's what I use for gas going down there. I never got the Miss Million. I never collected the money for the adults in the van.
Raynette friend said that she
never
paid
collected.
to
Can I
go
tell
on
you?
the
Talk to
trip.
me about the shirts, Trina McCarthy. Talk to me about the Disney
I never
shirts.
collected money for the people inside the van, Miss Million.
No, I know. You collected it from your sister. That $650
Right,
is supposed to cover.
$650 that
So,
was
of
gonna go
course,
towards
you
the
owe
van.
money for the rental van. Of course you do.
The
Right.
$650.
Oh, but that's not what you've been saying. You've been saying you owe $0. You do owe at a minimum
Because
$650.
it went towards the gas.
Okay, I
It
want to
went
speak
towards the
only.
gas.
Stop yelling at me. That's not going to help your case.
Family vacations are always fraught with peril, but this one sounds crazy because it involves strange men and pot-smoking teenagers. Yikes. Let's listen.
Talk to me about the Disney shirts.
The Disney shirts I left there. I left the Disney shirts there because my sister said, don't take them shirts, just leave them. I didn't know that my oldest daughter took the shirts.
Okay, but why weren't you
And
supposed
so-
to pay for the shirts?
Yeah, I was supposed to pay for the shirts.
So why
And
didn't
I
you pay her for the
that's what I could
shirts?
say. Because Raynette never contacted me about the shirts.
So I see.
Thereafter.
Okay, that's a
Listen,
lie because I'm going to read to you the text. Trina, you got my money. Okay, Trina, this is the last time I'm reaching out to you, but my money for the rental you were supposed to have paid with your debit card. My card was supposed to just be a hold. Call me before I move forward with these people. Blah, blah, blah. I will be moving
No,
forward with
I
legal.
never even
Stop
received that text.
talking over me. You can hear me, right? I will be moving forward with legal action tomorrow morning. Hope you do the right thing. And you also owe me for the T-shirts. That was $124. What part about that was unclear? Of course she coantacted you for the T-shirts.
I never received that text.
What about the
Because
tire?
I
Whose
know
tire
it.
got busted during the trip?
The van didn't come back with a busted tire, so I don't know. They checked the van that I drove there. The lady looked it over, turned it on,
Show me the
everything.
paperwork regarding which van had a busted tire, Ms. Wooding.
If you look at the paperwork will tell you that the van it wasn't a busted tire. It was something, the tire was messed up or something. And I received that bill. And if you match that bill
Just a
with
second.
Trina's
We're going to
signature-
do that right now and figure out which of the vans it is. Okay, so it's rental number ending 0313. How do I know that's her van and not yours?
If you look on it, the original agreement, the contract where Trina has her name signed on the contract, match that contract.
Okay. Yep, that matches the van that you had, so the tire damage would be yours, Ms. McCarthy.
They never told me it was tire
Okay.
damage. They looked over the van fully before they gave me a receipt. So I
How
never
many
heard of
other
any
people were there that added on to? There were 2 people who added on, Ms. Wooding?
No, that's what they're saying. But what happened was I had my 6 people. Christina had her 6 people. Trina and Stacy had 10 people apiece. And at the end of the day, I did not receive my 2 rooms. Stacy had her 2 rooms. Trina had her 3 rooms, and Christina had her 2 rooms. And the bottom room where my mother and her sister end up sharing. As a matter of fact, Your Honor, What happened was my mother.
No. We're not going to just go. We're not going to go into any more family dynamics. Let me suggest something to you. The next time you want to organize a trip of 50 people, you have to think of every contingency, and you have to have everything very spelled out. And that includes who gets what room, because otherwise you are not managing 50 people's expectations. And that's a lot of people. Even though it's a big house that you rented, it's a lot of people. I can't even imagine, the stress. How this vacation was how many days?
Well, we left a day early.
And then 7, and then they leave early because they're mad. And then what happens with the cousins? The cousins don't see each other since July. The cousins now can't see each other because the mothers are mad at each other.
It wasn't no dude.
No.
Can I say something?
No, because I know it's not going to be helpful.
Judge, listen. Their kids, listen, my house is like the kid house. And when Raynette sit here and say, I had the most, her kids live at my house. That's where they drop their kids off at. I had the most kids because they are my grandkids. I can't go on the trip. They asked me to go on the trip and they wanted me to pay the most money.
Yeah, see, all this should be spelled out. Like if somebody shouldn't have, if $950 covers 6 people, I mean, there should just be a price per person and every head pays, and maybe a different price for kids. But then if you have more people, you pay more. See, it's so simple. That's how this stuff is usually done.
She begged me to
Instead,
go.
there's all this. No, everybody be quiet. And instead, what there is all these confusions about, well, I paid my $950, I can bring 400 relatives because they're all under my umbrella. And it's everyone's fault, but mostly you, Ms. Wooding, for not having it all spelled out. But it's everyone's fault for making assumptions about how things would go and what each thing entitled you to.
Welcome back to the People's Court. So how is Judge Millian going to untangle this crazy family dispute? Let's go back into the courtroom and find out.
I don't have to worry about the Airbnb because that's not in front of me. What I have to worry about is this rental van. If there is a rental van that costs $1,400 and each rental van costs that, I don't know how you would ever think $650 was going to cover it. $650 is not going to cover it. And you would know that $650 wasn't going to cover it. And now, Ms. Trina McCarthy, did you ever give an additional $100 to Raynette for the car rental, for the van rental?
No, I didn't give Raynette anything.
Okay.
But 2 people gave Raynette an additional $650. Patrice wasn't the only. Your girlfriend said she gave you $500.
Don't you understand that even that additional 2 $650s don't cover the van? She ended up paying for the entire van of hers and the entire van of your sister's. Don't you see? And the van, that's $2,800. So if the other $650s are supposed to be helping with transportation costs, where would you ever be entitled to any credit there? Stop talking. Stop talking. I find that you are most definitively going to give Ms. Wooding the $650 that was for vans that you did not give her. I find that you owe her the $124 for the T-shirts. I find that the tire damage was on your van, so you owe the $77.60. And I find that nobody else seems to feel like they have to go by the prior agreements, but I do. That since you never paid the $100 for transportation, that you also owe that. And that means, Ms. Trina McCarthy, that I am ordering you to pay Ms. Wooding $951.60. That is my verdict. For the rest of that money from the van, look to those $650s you were supposed to collect, or look to those other $100 that you were supposed to collect, just like the plan was. That's my verdict.
So in this very complex case involving a family vacation of almost 50 people, the end result is the plaintiff, Ms. Wooding, is going to get $951 from the defendant, not the $1,500 she was suing for. And Ms. McCarthy, you're going to have to pay her that $951. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's the judge's ruling, and so I guess you just have to get paid that $951.
You know, let me ask you one other thing here. What about the family dispute here between your cousins? What's this done between the two of you as far as your friendship and everything?
Yeah, I'm done with her. Yeah, because she did a lot of lying. I'm done with her. She put the face on and she did a lot of, I'm done. I'm through. She can't come back from this.
Well, all right. I'm not surprised at that. Let's see what Ms. Wooding, the plaintiff, feels about it. She is going to get $951 from the defendant. Ms. Wooding, what are you feeling right now?
I feel like the judge ruling was acceptable. And as far as lying, I have no reason to lie. What Trina did was she took, like I said, she decided to amend her relationship with her sister during our vacation. But what she failed to tell the judge that the money that they did collect from Catrice, when they left early, they also left Catrice behind because they had gotten into it. So in reality, Trina left Catrice, the one that they got the $500 from, in Florida, and she had to ride back with me.
Well, what's your relationship going to be now? What, are you going to be? She says she's done with you. You okay with that?
That's okay. If that's her feelings, those are her feelings.
Bet you buck you don't do a vacation like this again. Am I right about that? You're done with this kind of thing.
Nope, I'm not, because I'm a family person and I love my family. Regardless of all their flaws, I still love my family. And yes, I would do another trip just without them.
Okay. Well, you eliminate them. That's it. That's the end of it. All right. Well, listen, you prevailed. You're going to get $951. Hopefully that'll help ease the pain that you're suffering from. Let's see what Harvey has to say. Harvey, what are you thinking?
Okay, Doug, hate to sound like a broken record, but you know what? This keeps happening, so I got to talk about it. When you are in any kind of a deal with somebody, you got to somehow memorialize it in writing. Now, that does not have to be a contract. You could do something via text, email, something where you just make the other person acknowledge you have a particular deal. And you do it even when things are going well. Whenever people go into a deal, they think it's going well, but sometimes it doesn't.
A relative's dog was attacked by another dog. I asked if they were on a leash. He said the attacking dog was not, but that his was on an electronic leash. Does that hold up in court? And yes, they were both pit bulls.
An electronic leash is what most people might call an invisible fence that goes around the perimeter of your yard that will...
There's no such thing as an electronic leash. I don't know what they're talking about. Maybe they're talking about one of those little collars that you can press a button.
Yeah, to discipline the dog or keep the dog within a particular perimeter.
But those were always called Dr. Mengele collars at our house.
At our house, right.
Because the only thing that ever saw that, and I know it's a legitimate form of training a dog. I'm not, I know it's considered
Doesn't
humane.
your brother have one?
He has an electronic fence, but we had the Dr. Mengele collar, and the only thing that ever saw a shock was my thigh, because I kept saying, oh, no, that's too hard for Sammy. No, that's too hard. And at the end of the day, Sammy never got a shock. It was just my thigh getting shocked.
I refused to do that. I never shocked myself.
Because I would say, I don't want it to be too hard on the dog.
You wanted to put one around my neck.
That would have worked. But no, there's no such thing as an electronic leash. The law requires you to have your dog on a leash. That means...
Right, but if you're within your own yard, a leash law doesn't apply.
I didn't get the impression, though, that's what they were talking about.
The dog gets attacked while... One dog is off leash, and the victim dog, they say, well, had an electronic leash. I'm going to assume...
I don't think there's any such thing as an electronic leash.
I'm going to assume they mean that the dog was in its own yard, even if there's no fence around the yard. If the dog is in its own yard, no leash law will apply because it's at home.
I don't know.
It's not on the loose.
So the first, I think you're reading into it, but I guess if the question is the second dog was off leash and went into the first dog's property, because they wouldn't feel the electric fence. No. I'm not sure what happens.
Right. Some dogs, they say, get barrier anxiety when they have those things on, and they might be kind of at the perimeter of the property and watching other dogs frolicking and playing and stuff.
Because those electronic fences are a legitimate way to, they're recognized as a legitimate way to keep your dog in, but it doesn't stop other dogs from coming there. And then if the other dog gets attacked, it's only because your dog isn't on a real leash with you handling him.
Right.
But in any event, I think this question was really that they had one of those collars and with the control in their pocket and their
with the shock.
That's what I thought the question was. And if that's the case, then no, that doesn't qualify as an actual leash.
Right.
Witness the fact that the dogs got in a fight.
Right.
If you had the dog on a leash, you might have been able to pull.
Right.
Rather than hoping that you press a button somewhere. That's
right. And unfortunately, like you said, you can't stop anything from coming into the yard with an invisible fence.
Yeah.
I know, you just can't wait till tomorrow for another session of the People's Court. So guess what? You can check out our podcast or our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.